Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, the pop culture, comics, and gaming podcast. Today we are talking about Spider-Man, superhero sequels, and cable-cutting streaming services. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Ken Brown.
So Ken, you were just telling me a few things about the Spider-Man comic that's kind of been going on here with Mysterio.
There's a new guy he's called the Kindred. He's been more or less messing with Mysterio this whole time. And like that, he's been manipulating Mysterio to more or less interfere in Peter Parker's life without Peter Parker knowing.
Huh.
And it's like that. He's now, the latest thing is getting to the producer, since he has Hollywood connections.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there's been two Mysterios based off what Nick Spencer is talking about. Like one died and the other one, because one was in hell.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. So I'm trying to figure out everything Nick Spencer's touched on, because I haven't been a huge Mysterio fan over the years. Mm-hmm. So I need to go back and read all the Mysterio history. It's like one Mysterio died. The other Mysterio, I don't know what happened to him. So the one Mysterio that was in hell was brought back from hell by this guy called the Kindred. And so am I guessing, like, okay, is the Mysterio that was brought back from the dead the second Mysterio or the first Mysterio? And the original Mysterio is actually this guy that's manipulating everybody the whole way through. But the Kindred is more or less manipulating Mysterio to do different things to try to break down Peter Parker. And there's one scene like where Mysterio's talking with the psychologist, and the Kindred shows up, and he goes, "Did you tell him?" It's like that. No, I didn't tell him. It's like that. How did he know then that I existed? It's like that. Next thing you know is like that. The Kindred strikes down Mysterio, and you find out the psychologist that was counseling Mysterio actually became Mysterio, and Mysterio became the psychologist, so he could try to hide in plain sight and hopefully try to hide from Kindred.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going talk about freaking mind games going on like crazy. So like that, even Mysterio creating illusions that are so grandeur that going to talk to a psychologist about this thing that's the threat manipulating him convinced the psychologist who's supposed to be canceling him into posing as Mysterio. So next thing, Mysterio's pretending to be the psychologist, and the psychologist is dressed as Mysterio getting counseled by the psychologist.
So interesting.
Yeah, and it's kind of a trippy thing like that's going on in that book. So nothing is what it appears. Type of thing.
I think there might be a little more to Mysterio in the MCU too.
Yes,
because obviously that video got edited. Did you see Far
yes.
From Home? Okay.
I don't think he's dead. Even though they did that broadcast,
whether or not Jake Gyllenhaal's whatever character is dead or not, that video got edited and the special effects, got whatever. So either there was some other kind of illusion that not got detected, or the Obadiah Stane henchman guy, he took that flash drive and left, and we never saw or heard from him again.
So he may become the new Mysterio.
Sure, why not?
Because that's the two where it's like there's two Mysterios.
Or he is the Mysterio.
I see.
Because
Gyllenhaal's just a pawn himself.
Well, because he said we made up Quentin Beck, so he wasn't Quentin Beck per se. I mean, he was, but he technically wasn't. Though, because it was a persona. So like you're saying, there's multiple Mysterios. So why not?
Yes.
Aren't we going to be building to Sinister Six? I mean, what else are we doing?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying too. It's like it seems Sinister Six was being plotted there like crazy in that last Spider-Man movie.
I hope so.
Me too, dude. And so it's interesting to see where they're going with this whole kid. Because I was thinking it was going to be the Hobgoblin is the person that is wrapped in the mummies, because he looks like that.
Wrapped in the what?
He's wrapped in mummy wrapping, and he's got what looks like a goblin cloak on.
In what?
In Spider-Man right now. In
the comics?
Yes.
I was thinking about the movie. I was like, wait, what did I miss?
Yes, dude. And it's super good. It's just super misleading. Nick Spencer's like putting us on this ride of like, who is this guy? So Kindred's a word for family.
Yep.
So I wonder if it has anything to do, because he's really focused on Peter Parker. So do you think it's Ben Reilly?
Maybe it's Peter's dad.
Clones? Imagine if it's Uncle Ben. I know.
No,
it's Dad.
Peter's dad.
You're right, Richard Parker. Wow.
From another dimension. I mean, I hope it's not Uncle Ben. I don't want everybody can't be somebody.
I know exactly. It's gonna be hopefully a new character, but this is what the guy looks like.
Interesting.
And he looks like he's playing like he's from hell.
He looks like Skeletor. Well, I mean, Richard Parker died,
that's true.
In the plane crash. I mean, it could be from an alternate universe too, right? Why not? Yeah. I mean, we talked about the comics, they're being influenced by the movies. So, I mean, you'd almost think like this is why we're doing all these Mysterio like rehashing,
Yes, it's like Mysterio, I said too. It's the whole thing I got from Spider-Man Far From Home is nothing is what it seems. Mm-hmm. And I mean, with the whole thing of the Skrulls being Nick Fury and Maria Hill,
that's a good point too.
And everything was almost an illusion the whole way through the movie.
Yeah.
The fact of like Spider-Man's there, but Peter Parker is not Spider-Man. And then by time the movie was over, it's like that, Peter Parker wanted to get away. And the illusion was like they had to create the fact of like we can use Spider-Man, but you can't have him be Peter Parker. And that's like even to the fact of where like what they call him, Night Monkey?
Yes, they're like, oh yeah, it's Night Monkey.
Yeah, and it's like the illusion is like that's not Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And the whole Skrull reveal at the end of it where Nick Fury's up on vacation, another illusion where he looks like he's on vacation and he's actually on the Skrull ship.
Wow, I did not even the themes of Nothing As It Seems really did go so much deeper than I even realized.
Yes, and I think they're setting it up on purpose. And I think why Nick Fury's team up with the Skrulls is he knows that there's something going on Earth that he doesn't trust.
Secret invasion.
Yes, and then the funny thing too is the secret invasion is like the Skrulls are actually allies this time rather than the antagonists. So what are we hinting on that Nick Fury knows?
I think you can still do secret invasion and just have a small sect of Skrulls that are the good guys, but maybe they're just helping with the rest of the Skrulls, that are actually bad. I mean, why not? Because it was just supposed to be Talos and his little group that Marvel had, family. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's totally Sword, that he started with the Skrulls up there.
Well, the whole implications. If you think about everything going as far back as if Nick Fury's been working with the Skrulls that long, that changes the whole implications of Phase 1, 2, and 3 because he discovered the Skrulls back in the 90s.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
And Captain Marvel took place before all the stuff that happened with the unification. Remember, she was the first Avenger.
Yeah,
before they discovered Captain America was found in ice.
That's right. How long has he been working on this? How long has he been setting up Sword in preparation for whatever? And maybe Nick Fury's been handling S.H.I.E.L.D. on Earth this whole time, but maybe it was actually Carol Danvers and Talos who have been running Sword away from the events of phases 1 through 3. And now Carol's gone off and done something else. So now Nick Fury is worried about things on a more, intergalactic scale.
Speaking of what the next phase is, I mean, the Krees and the Skrulls, he had access to all the information of what they've seen in the universe.
You're right.
Well, what if they're preparing for the Eternals to arrive?
The Eternals, the multiverse. We know we got the Multiverse of Madness coming up. Yeah, you're right. The Eternals movie,
and that's Guardians 3. Where Fury wants as much information as possible to protect Earth. And now, because he had no clue in Captain Marvel that there was anything off of Earth.
And now, after the events of the Infinity Stones,
boom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's I said too. It was like that was to me like Spider-Man was the most penultimate movie of tying up everything that happened in the franchises since Iron Man 1. I mean, the whole connections of the fact, like once again, the illusion of these people that were in the Iron Man movies and the other movies that were insignificant turned out to be the significant villains to help make Mysterio work because they were throwaways. It almost reminds me a little bit of Batman Hush, where Riddler was thought of as like the throwaway villain in the whole story, and he was the one that orchestrated everything. And so there's a lot of things that have been orchestrated in the Marvel universe that was the answers were revealed in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that was, to me, was brilliant about how they used, Spider-Man to tie up everything when it was almost like a thank you to Sony for allowing us to bring Spider-Man into our storytell.
And there's some interesting, I don't know if I'd call it symbolism or not symbolism, some interesting parallelism between at the end of the first Iron Man movie, it's I Am Iron Man. And then it's dealing with the implications of Tony Stark revealing that. But spoiler alert for Spider-Man Far From Home, after the credits scene in Far From Home, it is revealed by Mysterio or fake Mysterio or whoever he is that Peter, or actually I guess J. Jonah Jameson, right? That Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yes.
And now going forward, how is this going to be completely different than somebody like Tony Stark, who is in the public eye just being Iron Man? Like, this is this kid, and now we also think he's a murderer who wants to kill Quentin Beck and take the place of Iron Man.
Yes, that's what's kind of crazy to think about how this whole thing played out too. Is like that before the movie rolled credits, he reached his penultimate high of learning how to be a superhero and accepting who he is and how he fits into this world of being an important superhero after his mentor, Tony Stark, did die.
And it wasn't...
And then Mysterio to pull the rug out for him with Jameson and say, oh, everything you achieved, this guy, it's all a lie. This guy is scum of the earth. He killed who was supposed to be the replacement of Iron Man, as you said. And it's like very going to be detrimental for how Peter Parker handles this. And I think that's why they did the next scene with the whole reveal of the Skrulls being Nick Fury and Maria Hill. Because I think if you, once again, the whole thing of illusions of like Mysterio created his illusion that Spider-Man killed him. Well, in the next movie, you can have a Skrull pose as Spider-Man while Peter Parker is being rescued by Spider-Man.
Yeah, why not?
And then also like, tell me how that one worked then, Jameson. You know what I mean? And the Skrulls could be the best allies to Spider-Man going forward,
that's one way you can do it. You could also do, Doctor Strange, maybe doing a spell like they did, I think, what was that, after Civil War, I believe it was. But what might be cool in the beginning of this movie, if they do that comic art where Spider-Man took on those different identities.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because they already kind of did that black suit, but why not do that? Multiple. Was it the Hornet?
Yeah, the Hornets.
And then there was one more too, but I almost yes, like all of that. Yes, I almost thought they were going to do it in this one, but now they almost set it up that they could. I don't want it the whole movie, but I think it would be fun to touch on just to do it.
I would love to see a bunch of people just show up in Spider-Man costumes and they'll rip off their mask. I'm Spider-Man. You know what I mean, dude? Yeah. It's just almost like that unification of like that, where it's so tropic for that whole Jameson thing to create this villain thing. But it was almost like, could that just be fan service just to kind of, more or less throw Jameson in there as the person that's going to start this antagonistic thing for Spider-Man again. And all they're doing is just, hey, dude, we're doing fan service for you because we know you wanted to see Jameson.
Yeah, we do.
You saw Jameson.
And I freaked out. That was as much as it's just J. Jonah Jameson, but the fact that they did it, they brought back J.K. Simmons to do it. Like, it was such a fan service that to me now it's one of the top 3 after the credit scenes of all time.
Yes, I would love to see from here going forward though, J.K. Simmons just keep on getting disproved of the fact of like he keeps on trying to make Spider-Man this menace, and everything he tries fails.
And talk about multiverse confirmed, like the fact that like he's the J. Jonah Jameson of this universe, but like it's just a nice to think about like these other Spider-Man movies that, we've had over the last, 10, 20, whatever years are their own multiverse movies now.
Yes.
And that's fun. That makes it fun.
Yeah, especially with Marvel focusing on like they just had such great success with Into the Spider-Verse.
I just saw that the other day. Have you seen it?
So good. Yes, that's one way. I liked it as an animated feature. Usually I don't get excited to watch animated features as much as the main features, but I thought Miles Morales stole the movie. And I thought he did a great job, like proving to me that Peter Parker doesn't have to be the focus Spider-Man.
I found the low frame rate to be a little distracting, but I mean the bad guys were fun. They just keep putting the Kingpin as like this villain that you kind of feel bad for. Like, he just wanted to bring his family. I was like, oh, he's misunderstood.
Yes, the misunderstood. I know, like Marvel's got a way of like saying these villains aren't really villains; they're more anti-heroes than villains at times.
And what was her name? Was it Olivia Octavius? Like she was interesting.
Yes.
Like no, my friends don't call me Dr. Ock, my enemies do. Like she was cool.
Yes.
She was one of my favorites coming out of that movie.
And even Tombstone seemed like villains you wouldn't see in the movies yet.
I was excited. I was like, oh shoot, that's Tombstone.
Yes, and it was just, I thought it was really cool. Prowler was cool to see in costume.
Yep.
And it was just, to me, very well executed to have Spider-Gwen, Peter Parker, and Miles Morales, even Spider-Ham and Noir. Usually to me, it's like, okay, that's too busy for me. But I really felt, even Penny Parker too, like that Spider-Man, whatever, the robot. it worked well for me to see something like that as an animated feature. And I don't think it would have worked as a live action film, but it was really fun to watch all the way through for me.
Yeah, I don't think everyone's talking about like, oh, let's do a live action one. But speaking of Prowler, I didn't find out till after the Blade announcement that it was Mahershala that played Prowler Into the Spider-Verse. So
no way,
not only does
cool,
he get to play Prowler, now he also gets to play Blade in the MCU. I'm like, man, like he's really making waves
in Disney.
In Marvel. Yeah, I was gonna say Marvel, but yeah, in Disney, absolutely. So I thought that was fun. I didn't even realize, I wish I knew while I was watching it. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. I think it was just overhyped for me, honestly.
Yeah,
but
maybe that's part of it.
But talk about awesome after the credit scenes.
Yes.
With the
$20.99.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't even about the $20.99 thing was really cool. But when they drop into the old 1960s Spider-Man cartoon to do the meme, like you're a spider, like that level of, like pop culture reference, like I thought was so funny.
Yes. That's what I loved about it. I mean, it hit me on so many different levels of appreciating Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And so too, it was like that. I really wanted to see how they were going to integrate Miles Morales in a way that was going to set Miles Morales for years to come. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the first grassroots way of saying, when we bring Miles Morales along to the cinematic universe, you're going to love this kid.
Well, you were just talking about, Peter Parker, everyone showing up in solidarity. Maybe this is part of a setup to maybe do Miles Morales, especially with the introduction of the multiverse. I think I'd rather have an alternate universe Miles Morales first, and then maybe after the events of Doctor Strange, if certain things kind of fall into each other. Just tell me what.
My theory about how I thought that would work to bring Miles Morales into the Spider-Man verse after the snap.
How is that?
Or after, what do they call it in the Spider-Man movie?
Oh, the blip?
The blip, yes. The blip.
Which was great.
Yeah, so that was awesome. It was fun to see how they said like that. It's going to be something different no matter us watching as fans versus what they refer to it in their own movie verse.
I think that totally worked. I think something that cosmically, decimating, like it's so fitting for just today's day and age to just make such light, like, oh, the blip.
Yes.
Like that's exactly what it was. Everyone just blipped back.
It's a blip on the radar. So they're blipped away and they're blipped back. But I always thought they used the wrong character, aging 5 years, to be the Mary Jane love interest. I thought that would have been great to be Miles Morales, aging the 5 years, and all of a sudden be the hunk kid that grew up to be this skilled rivalry of Peter Parker. Yes.
And you could still have done the Spider-Man died without actually killing.
And what happened? Spider-Man,
that would have been so good.
Yes, and Spider-Man didn't disappear. Peter Parker disappeared. And Miles Morales got bit by the spider that was genetically engineered to try to duplicate Spider-Man, the same way that people saw this Spider-Man out there, which is what Norman Osborn did, that this kid idolized Spider-Man. And recently, ironically, why was I bit by the spider? How do I have these powers? Like in the Ultimate Spider-Man storytell. Yeah. And then he sees Peter Parker get crushed by the Green Goblin in the comics.
Yeah.
But in this, Spider-Man's gone. Where's Spider-Man been? It's like that. That's why I was bit by this spider. And in those 5 years of him being Spider-Man, he comes back. And he's almost jealous of Spider-Man being back.
Interesting.
And that's what, all of a sudden, Peter Parker looks out the window and he sees another Spider-Man, and it's actually Miles Morales that's aged up to be the same age as he is.
Interesting.
Yeah, because those 5 years, that's Miles Morales growing up, being Spider-Man the whole time he was gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that would have been my fun way of doing that.
Yeah, no, I think that totally would have worked. Man, missed opportunity. Because we already dealt with, the blip stuff. So, I mean, that really should have been addressed, by this point.
And who knows, maybe they can still touch on it, because that's just one kid that more or less grew up to be a rival of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
But this other, he has to have, because I don't think they want Miles to be a rival of Peter Parker. They want him to look up to Peter Parker type of thing.
Well, we know he's around, though, since, we had the Prowler in the first one, and he already referenced his nephew. How old he is, remains to be seen. So,
yes.
We'll see. But as far as Spider-Man movies going forward, what do you, besides the Sinister Six, what do you want to see out of it? Even if it's just some villains or.
I really want to see Kraven.
Yeah.
Kraven the Hunter and Chameleon, I think, should be the next step they take. And because Kraven the Chameleon, I think, are so synonymous together.
Sure.
That would be such a blast to see more or less Spider-Man Spider-Sense going wild and chameleons walking around in different identities, trailing him and kind of messing with them to set up Kraven for his biggest hunt.
Yeah.
And where it's like that Chameleon, I'm not sure how you kind of connect Chameleon in right away for the rivalry for Spider-Man, but Chameleon was Spider-Man's first villain in Spider-Man #1. Well, and he's getting to that point now where he's not dependent on the Avengers. He's now going to be Spider-Man. And so maybe the Chameleon does show up next.
Well, we saw there was a character called Dimitri in Far From Home, although that didn't seem to go anywhere. And that guy looks an awful lot like Kraven to kind of be a coincidence. But I mean, I wouldn't be upset if it's somehow related to Mysterio's tech, since we were jumping off of that anyway. Just kind of a different, implementation of illusion. Yes. By doing it as disguises.
So the Chameleon, maybe the guy that was helping with the disguises becomes the Chameleon.
Sure. I mean, I don't think everything should tie together anyway, right? I wouldn't be too upset if that's the route.
It's their story now. Yeah,
sure. Why not? Yeah. I know we keep talking about Kraven's Last Hunt, but I would love to see that though as its own spinoff.
And plus, it goes into that whole thing they're staying with the illusion. They set up this whole story was a big illusion, and so Chameleon would be the next logical setup of illusion or illusionary.
And I don't know if we talked about it on this podcast or if it was right before we started recording, but like we said, with all the Green Goblins we've had, pretty much we've had 4 Green Goblins, but none of them have been like the comic book.
No, it's all been unique in their own ways. They're afraid to touch on how cool the Green Goblin is in the comics.
And as good as William Dafoe did a great job, but his costume was
more of like a weapons manufacturer
or a Power Ranger villain.
Yes, exactly. And it was just it was not it felt like it should have been more of an Iron Man villain than a Spider-Man villain.
Interesting. Yeah, that's fair. But I would like to see a more Goblin.
Yes, a crazy madman that puts
Earth 616 Green Goblin.
Yeah, dude.
Costume.
Puts on his mask and his, he looks like he went to a costume shop. You know what I mean? And maybe the armor could be under the costume, but it's something that would just be awesome to see. The rays firing out of the fingers at Spider-Man type of thing, and going on the glider and just watching the waviness of the hat, the hood, just go and blow in the background there. It would just be unbelievable cinematics, I think.
And you know what? I was rewatching Amazing Spider-Man 2, and they did a great job with the death of Gwen Stacy's story.
Yes.
And sure, maybe we don't want to do that again. I don't think I would be too upset if we killed MJ like we gave her the Gwen Stacy story to get rid of this Michelle MJ and introduce, redheaded Mary Jane. I wouldn't be too upset to give MCU MJ, Gwen Stacy's death.
Yes, that would be an interesting twist because no one would see that coming.
Bring in Mary Jane. Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean, we just did Gwen Stacy. You don't want to do it over and over again. That's fine. I won't be too upset. The Tobey Maguire movies, skipped Gwen Stacy anyway, and we were okay with that, right?
Yes. No, it'd be interesting to see which way they're going to take Spider-Man for the long term here, because they have so many options now with the Spider-Verse that they've developed over the past 5 years. I mean, it's technically another Spider-Verse.
Well, and I want room for Black Cat.
Yes, that's going to be interesting too. Is Sony going to develop some of these Spider-Man characters outside of the MCU, or are they going to build them for going into the MCU?
Well, so far Venom and Morbius are their own things, and I don't know why we're bothering doing this.
Yes,
just work with Marvel and I would love a Venom MCU movie, but after Spider-Man has the suit first.
Yes, and they have to. I said too. It's almost they're having their own multiverse at Sony. Yep. It's like that. We taking things from the Spider-Man universe, but it's not in the Spider-Man universe.
And Spider-Man's not around either.
Yes, and it's kind of a little bit of a frustration for Spider-Man fans because there is this whole great universe that's just Spider-Man by himself, and Sony's playing with that outside of the MCU. And
I think that sucks.
Yeah. I said too, because Black Cat, you know, is going to be a Sony Spider-Man movie.
We'll
without
see.
Spider-Man.
They pulled the plug on that, and then now they're kind of talking about it again. Like, I'll believe that when I see it.
Yeah, and Silver Sable. If they set up these characters to eventually pop up in Spider-Man films, that would be great. Kind of like with the whole Avengers thing. It's like, let's have Iron Man pop up in his own movie, then Thor do his own movie, then Hulk do his own movie, and eventually Fury puts all these people together. But in this, you know, Felicia Hardy is a cat burglar movie, and then at the end of the movie, maybe, you know, she sees Spider-Man and gets interested in Spider-Man.
Or gets caught by Spider-Man.
Yeah, or gets caught by
escapes,
Spider-Man.
You know, like, that would be fun.
There's even, did you hear the theories about Felicia Hardy was one of the high school students at the high school? And she
it was confirmed.
It was confirmed. Okay.
It was confirmed that was in the high school, not that she's grown up now. But
okay, and that she's now 5 years older than Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it was someone that, you know, she had a crush on Peter Parker type of thing. And Peter Parker disappeared. It's like that, okay, then, you know, or who knows how the type thing works on that. But it's hard to see any type of connection Sony's doing on their own outside of the MCU Spider-Man stuff they're doing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of frustrating a little bit in some ways.
Yeah, no, it is. I know we just brought up Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that was part of the reason why I was thinking, like, man, you know, like, there's so many great superhero sequels, like as in the direct sequel, the number 2.
Yes.
And, you know, as much as Amazing Spider-Man 2 ruined Andrew Garfield's run, the Gwen Stacy aspect of it was right on.
Yes.
They just tried to do way too much with this whole thing with Electro. Electro was really stupid, unfortunately. Even though it was a waste of Jamie Foxx. Then they tried to squeeze in a Harry Osborn Green Goblin story where they skipped Norman Osborn even being the Green Goblin, but he was still green, but he was dead. And then they stuck in, like, oh, there's Doc Ock's tentacles and the vulture wings and whatever the hell else.
Trying to get their Sinister Six going.
They were really trying to do it fast. They were pulling a Joel Schumacher there.
Yes, and even Felicia Hardy was in that movie too.
Exactly. And then they started introducing Felicia Hardy.
Yes.
But then, you know, right around the same time, I rewatched Blade 2. And Blade 2 was a great sequel. It was even better than the first Blade movie. So I thought, like, what are some of the best
sequels?
Number 2 superhero movies?
Man, I still think Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire with Doc Ock.
That to me was the best Spider-Man movie up until Far From Home.
Yeah, really. I love Far From Home, which is obviously, ironically, a second in the franchise. Again,
that's another season. It's a great number 2.
Yes, and it's insane. I think what it is they get all of the origin storytelling out of the way in the first movies. Mm-hmm. And then you can actually have a character you already know develop more depth to the character.
Yeah.
And through the rogues gallery, through whatever type of thing you want to do, it's like that. They don't have to worry about wasting any time in the second plot movie. And ironically, in the first Spider-Man Homecoming, they didn't waste much time in origins in that movie too. They took for granted that, like, that, you know what the Spider-Man story is. Do you know what I mean? We're going to tweak it a second or two, more or less make Tony Stark more involved. But other than that, you don't need to know how he got, bit by the spider. You don't need to know what happened to Uncle Ben. You already know. Yep. It's no big mystery. You've seen the other 5 movies.
Homecoming was just a Spider-Man, Iron Man team-up movie.
Yes.
I think. You know?
No. It was just more or less, it's, we're just bringing this Spider-Man that's part of the MCU story into the storytelling. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think it stinks for Andrew Garfield, because I did like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. A lot of people...
He was a good Spider-Man.
Yeah, me too. And I totally agree. I heard some people say they didn't like Andrew Garfield. I'm going... I thought he was great as Spider-Man.
Are those people saying that Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man? Because Tobey Maguire was the worst Spider-Man.
I know, dude. Yes, dude.
He was fine for the time, but really, like, he was so nerdy and so campy. And really, he sucked.
Yeah.
Pizza time. Okay.
Yeah. Andrew Garfield was a very modern day kid getting bit by the spider.
Yes. And he was like nerdy, but not too nerdy. And then he did a so much better job of, like, doing that. Spider-Man was like talking and talking, and that was great.
Yes,
like, we didn't really get. I mean, like, I feel like they kind of tried to do it, but, like, it wasn't the way that Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man did.
And that's why I think kind of like the only thing I have a knock on Tom Holland is that he hasn't caught on to the banter yet. And I don't know if that's something he's going to learn as he goes.
I think we're getting there.
Yeah, and he got a little bit more comfortable with it, but I thought it was so funny seeing him be awkward at the microphone of not knowing what to say to the crowd because he's afraid that he was going to not live up to what Tony Stark, do you know what I mean? Like would be disappointed in him type of thing on it still. And that's kind of ironically too on it too, is like the more that you see him live up to being like his mentor, one of the best banters in the whole MC universe was Tony Stark. Yeah. And so maybe that's what you're going to see more of, like that's him taking on that memory of Tony Stark personality wise.
Well, I think one of the best things coming out of Far From Home was that I feel like Marvel is letting Spider-Man stand alone and he can't exist without Iron Man. And this is Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is now a pillar of the MCU. So I think going forward, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, that's it too. Is like Spider-Man, that whole movie was building up his confidence in being, dude, you are, a special superhero. You can do this. This is something that you belong for a reason. This is why I said to Jon Favreau, Happy Hogan, like Morals convinced him, like, dude, this is not something that was just given hazardly. That's why Tony Stark chose you to wear that technology. And you just like, giving it up to Mysterio because you didn't feel it was the right choice. Dude, you're questioning one of the finest people that I've ever met in my life, and he chose you. Don't ever doubt that ever again. And I loved him turning over, the technology of him choosing which Spider-Man outfit that he had laid out for. It was Tony Stark knew Peter Parker, or that kid, was the legacy that would ever need to carry the mantle. And that was kind of fun to see Peter Parker accept that more by the time that movie was over.
And it gave us one of the best superhero sequels that we've had, you know, in this, long run since, 1998's Blade. Another one of my favorite MCU sequels is probably Winter Soldier.
Oh, absolutely.
That was probably one of the best MCU movies of all time.
Yes, I think so too. And I said too, gosh, dude, Sebastian Shaw is like as the Winter Soldier there. Sebastian
Shaw.
Oh my God. Yes, the Black King.
It's confusing though.
Sebastian Stan.
I do that all the time. I do that all the time. Honestly.
The great Sebastians of the Marvel Universe. One being Stan and one being Shaw. Stan really stole the show.
He was great.
He carried the movie in my opinion, dude. I mean, Chris Evans is great as Captain America, but Sebastian Stan carried that movie, which was unbelievable for a first-time villain carrying a movie for Captain America, because you felt, as I said too, like I had no hatred towards Winter Soldier in that movie at all, and it was so much fun to see, almost like a Terminator type of movie, like where Cap
it was very political thriller for sure.
Yes, so I don't know, I know what you mean, dude. That was by far one of the best sequels I've ever seen, and to have a villain carry the movie for me, I thought was unbelievable.
Well, and like you said, we got all the origin stories out of the way. The Captain America First Avenger effectively did the Winter Soldier origin as well, with Bucky falling off the train.
You're true. Yeah, that's right, dude. So that was an origin. Yep. So you don't have to worry about.
We didn't have to explain, like, here's Bucky. It was his friend, back in the day. Like it wouldn't have been as fun. Like, oh my gosh, this is Bucky. Oh my gosh, Bucky doesn't remember. And you know what's also. And Marvel has been doing such a good job with these really minor characters that you don't want to focus a whole movie on. Like right in the beginning, we have them fight. Is it Batroc?
Yes,
the kicker.
Yes.
Yeah, the leaper.
Yes,
not
dude.
The kicker. Played by George St. Pierre, the UFC fighter. Well, it was just like a little scene, but like it was so cool to still get him as a character that fights Captain America.
That was the fun. I loved
incredibly well handled,
and the great banter he had in there too as well. He kept the Batroc banter in there too, which was kind of fun.
It was so much fun. And that was still a little bit of a team up movie too, because we had Black Widow and we introduced the Falcon in there as well. Wait, that was the one we introduced the Falcon, right?
I think was it Captain America Winter Soldier? Yes, I think it was where they introduced Falcon in that one.
Yeah,
because it wasn't in the Avengers.
And because I was getting confused with Civil War for a little bit.
Yeah, Falcon was in the Captain America too.
Yep, that's right. So many good things coming out of the movie, and it was just good, interesting.
What do you think was the worst of the seconds?
Worst of the seconds? Oh, I have to go with, and I'd almost hate to say it. I'm trying to think if there's something else to pull out. Iron Man 2?
Yeah, I was going close with Age of Ultron too. And whatever reason, like I wanted to like Age of Ultron as much as I should have.
It was okay,
but it wasn't anywhere up to living up to the other Avengers. Yeah, Iron Man 2 was pretty horrible. Iron Man 3 you could say was pretty bad too as well, but that's
Iron Man 3
one.
was really bad.
And that was unfortunate on Iron Man 3.
I think one of the worst parts about Iron Man 2 is Iron Man 1, we had Iron Man versus Ironmonger, which is effectively evil Iron Man, right?
Yes.
And that's fine for a lot of these first movies. You know, what was Red Skull? It's evil Captain America.
Yes.
You know, what was, the first Black Panther movie? It was evil Black Panther.
Yes.
So now in Iron Man 2, we had Whiplash, which was something a little different, but it was almost like they got scared and they just combined him into Crimson Dynamo. Yes. And by the end, we were just fighting evil Iron Man again.
Yeah.
I didn't want to fight evil Iron Man again. We already spent a whole movie fighting evil Iron Man.
Not everything he has to battle has to do with armor.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept on pushing that over.
And that was going to be the best thing about the Mandarin until the Mandarin was fake. So like, now what are we even doing?
Yes.
And that was... with all the great stuff we got out of Iron Man, unfortunately, like it was not perfect. I'm sorry.
I felt like Iron Man was more built for Avengers than his own movies.
I think that's only because they were afraid to just keep Whiplash.
Yes.
And it would have been so much more interesting to have the Mandarin fight Iron Man because he's finally fighting someone that's not with armor.
Well, the Ghost would be great for Armor Wars.
Sure. Yes. And we didn't even do Armor Wars.
Yes.
We didn't even have the Controller.
Yep.
Or any of these other characters that would have been interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that would have been a fun mini crossover that would have been like a Civil War level, kind of event instead of, Infinity War.
Yes.
Or something like that. Yeah, Age of Ultron, I think both the first two Avengers movies are overrated. And I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying that, but I'm just not impressed with Joss Whedon's directing,
storytelling on it, or directing.
Yeah, any of it. Bring on the hate comments. I don't care.
Yeah, Joss Whedon is pretty epic in a lot of things, but if you didn't like it, you didn't like it.
And I used to defend Guardians of the Galaxy 2 a lot, but actually the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of just like, it wasn't bad, okay. But I think at the time I was just so caught up in the fact that we got Ego as like the main villain of the movie. I was like, wow, I never thought I'd see the day where we not only get a Guardians movie, but they're fighting Ego, the living planet.
Yes.
I think I was so caught up in that I wasn't just like, oh, this is just like, oh, here we are on the planet. And he just shows up and like, oh, I'm the father. Like,
yes.
Like really, like, I don't know.
I do kind of like the fact of like that where everyone goes bonkers over Stranger Things. I kind of felt like Guardians of the Galaxy laid the groundwork for making these time movies of the modern generation. Like the first movie was the 70s, right? Guardians of the Galaxy would be like kind of considered taking place in the 70s, or is it the 80s? Because the Ego one was established in the story. Like, because he was kidnapped back in the 70s. 80s? Okay, so his soundtrack was the 80s soundtrack that he took with him? That Star-Lord when he was left on Earth?
It was either the late 70s or early 80s.
Okay, and then the next movie, they had, once again, all the different, like, Dairy Queens and stuff like that were very much time-dated, where Ego, they did his story.
Yeah.
Back as, like, being Star-Lord's, father, I'm back on Earth. And so I guess it was that same era, wasn't it? They're both 80s because...
Yeah, because it would have been right before he was born.
Yes, and then about 5-6 years later, he was abducted up into space, correct?
Yeah.
Or was it 7 years? Somewhere between 7 or 8 years old.
Something like that.
But all those different times, then Captain Marvel obviously capitalized on that too, being in the 90s. But Stranger Things really kind of has made this new pop culture phenomenon of the 80s become huge again.
I think it's because of how old people who are nostalgic for that are, like where we're at with technology and re-releasing things, like it's the demographic to play. I mean, look at Teen Titans Go. They do all kinds of 80s. They did a whole Breakfast Club episode.
Nice.
They did this whole set of episodes on their made up song called Night Begins to Shine, which was based on the hits of the 80s. And it sounds like something like Duran Duran or something we're doing. It's so freaking catchy.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, like that totally is the thing right now, and I think it's just because of the age of the people. I think that's part of it too.
I'd like to do like an episode sometime in the future. There, do we talk about like is the '80s the best decade?
Okay, yeah,
of our modern era?
Let's totally do that.
I think that would be awesome.
It's on.
So.
You heard it here. We're totally gonna do it. You know what? You know what the worst superhero sequel is? in the MCU at least, because I'm trying to think of other things, is Thor: The Dark World.
Oh, yes.
I barely even remember that movie.
I don't remember much from that either as well.
The only good thing out of that movie was, in my opinion, one of the best after the credit scenes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the Asgardians handing over the ether to the Collector. And I was like, wow, where's the Collector? And it's Benicio del Toro.
Yes.
And it would be unwise to have two Infinity Stones so close together. What? What is going on? That's one of the best after the credit scenes ever. But besides that, Thor: The Dark World was pretty underwhelming.
Yeah.
And, you know, as much as Kat Dennings is cool, she was pretty annoying in that movie. And we probably didn't need it, especially in a Thor movie. And the rest of it was just eh.
Yes. Yes, I barely remember watching Thor #2, which is kind of sad that you say that. I mean, was that the one that they tried tying into the Shield? Into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where all the artifacts were found on Earth?
Yes, I think so.
And it almost felt like that they were trying to develop a season of S.H.I.E.L.D. more than
because they did
developing the Marvel Universe.
Because within S.H.I.E.L.D.,
universe.
they had that as a Guardian, right? Who was Aurora or something, right? Wasn't there a couple episodes like that?
I'm pretty sure there was one in Asgardian and some of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episodes. Yeah. I know they were finding artifacts that were lost from Midgard.
And then
not Midgard, but from
Asgard.
Asgard. Into Midgard.
It seems like S.H.I.E.L.D. has really gotten away from tying into the MCU.
Yes, and they used to do such a great job. I mean, even the Winter Soldier. Do you mean they did an episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. that led into the Winter Soldier movie?
Yeah, and like that's what I was saying, like with the implications of the Hydra stuff, like it was multiple movies and it affected the world of S.H.I.E.L.D., obviously. Yes. But I mean, look, it was even a crucial part of Endgame because that's how Captain America was able to obtain Loki's staff without having to fight everyone right there. Yes. All he had to do was hail Hydra.
Yes, exactly, which was totally part of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stories.
And what a cool reference to the comics where they had Captain America do that without it being something really annoying that we had to spend all this time on. Because if they did a movie about that, like I would have hated it.
Yeah, I would have said Secret Empire.
No, I don't want that.
Yes.
But how they handle it, great. That's all I want. Just hail Hydra. Okay, fun. Great.
Yes, there's a nod.
Awesome. Yeah, that's all that needed to be, honestly.
The only thing that I feel like they dropped the ball on during all of their movie cinematic stuff is how they could not connect in the Netflix shows into the movies.
That was incredibly disappointing.
That they referenced each other in the Netflix shows, but they decided not to do any mention during the funeral of Tony Stark. And I guess maybe they're looking at the fact of that, well, they never dealt with Tony Stark, so how would they know Tony Stark? But it's kind of an interesting, disappointing factor of where I guess that's the thing too, is like the Netflix shows were the Marvel Night shows where they dealt with what happened more in the city level rather than at the major level.
Beyond that. I hope now that, I mean, they're going to go to Disney Plus. I don't care what anyone says. Like, they got canceled because they're going to be renewed on Disney Plus. Yes. I would bet money on that.
Dude, I hope
once that does happen, I hope whatever the problem is between the Marvel films and the people who run the TV stuff, like, just get over it. And I want to see Daredevil interact with Spider-Man, and I want Kingpin to interact with Spider-Man, and I want it to be Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes.
Because he is one of the best villains we've had in any of the current Marvel media ever.
Yep, and the agents, I said too, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they did it perfectly. Mm-hmm. So do the same thing perfectly with Netflix or the Disney Plus TV shows integrating into the movies. It sounds like they're doing it at Phase 4. I mean, the What If cartoon's part of Phase 4.
All of that.
And it's, they know the Vision and Scarlet Witch and Captain America and Bucky.
These streaming services are going to be so important going forward, especially with we are in this age right now where people are cutting cable.
Yes.
And everything is a subscription, And I guess you haven't transitioned to that, right? You're on DirecTV?
It's still DirecTV, and it's starting to get a little bit annoying.
I'm going to talk him into this. You guys hear. I'm going to get Ken on either Sling or PlayStation Vue. Nice. We're going to make this happen.
Well, DirecTV is to me like it has everything I need, except it costs way too much compared to everything else that's out there right now. And I'm debating, like, do I need DirecTV? Or we have Netflix, we have Hulu, we don't have Amazon Prime. I have Roku now, and it's just so much stuff out there. But how much can you keep on piling up cost on?
Exactly. So I mean, I think in the long run, everything is going to roughly be the same, but you're definitely going to save a few bucks right now cutting cable. So whether you have DirecTV, whether you have Cox, whether you're in another state and have, I don't know, Bell Atlantic or whatever is around now, cable costs you between $150 and $200, depending if you just want cable, you want the bundle. They trap you in the bundle because you're going to have a wired phone, but like, we don't even have a wired phone. Who uses a wired phone
anymore?
What is it is their way of staying relevant. And like cable companies, if they want to stay around, they have to implement some kind of cord cutting streaming service. Cox has the Contour, and I believe it's DirecTV that owns Sling TV. So like it's these subscriptions services that are here. I used to say it's the future, but like that future I think is now. So right now Sling, I think the base package is about $25, and it comes with the basic channels. So you get Cartoon Network with it, you get History Channel, you get AMC, ESPN, ESPN2, Freeform, I think, and a few other channels. But to get more channels, there's $5 packages. So you get $5 cartoon package, and that gets you Disney XD, the Disney Channel, Nick Jr. or whatever. So really you're customizing your packages. So like 25 base, then this $5 add-on. Because right now, why are you paying $150 to $200 for 2,000 channels when you're only watching 10 or 20 of them tops?
Yeah, the hard thing is like trying to get local sports into the streaming services.
I think that's what's really keeping the age of cable alive. Because
I want to watch my Suns games. I want to watch my Diamondbacks games. I want to watch ASU football. I want to watch the Arizona Cardinals. And it seems like it's hard to find these a la carte services or these streaming services that connect into local markets. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I feel is that keeping me hooked into DirecTV.
So, and I think that's just now starting to be addressed because my wife and I were trying to figure out how to watch What We Do in the Shadows, which was a FX series that was based on Taika Waititi's What We Do in the Shadows, the little indie film, which is hysterical if you've never seen it. But they just wrapped up the first season. So we were trying to figure out how to watch FX because FX was not on Sling. So we canceled Sling to switch to Hulu's live TV, which, I mean, it had more stuff. It was only a little more expensive. It was $44, and you got the live TV stuff, and you got, the regular Hulu package. But I was really disappointed that it put commercials back into the on-demand Hulu stuff, which I
don't want that at all.
And it's really annoying, and it was pretty frequent. And I like to fall asleep watching a show like that I'm familiar with, whether it's The Office, Teen Titans Go, Archer. But the commercials were so much louder, it made it harder to fall asleep watching.
I hate that. All of a sudden it goes from like normal sound effects, like a volume, to all of a sudden commercial break. Hey everybody!
Yeah, it was
buy the new Ford Eclipse.
It was super annoying. But I was
There's
really
no such as Ford Eclipse. I apologize, just using right so I don't get sued for anything.
I was so we wanted to find that show and we binged it, but like generally though I found it underwhelming. It kept not working. It kept saying like, we can't load this title right now. Like what is going on?
Yes,
like we have really good internet, so like that can't be the issue. But now this week we're gonna try PlayStation View's streaming service, which should be interesting. I like their interface a little better. I know somebody who has been using it, but for the same price, you get built-in cloud DVR.
That's pretty awesome.
Which is
That's
huge.
what I like about DirecTV too. Is I like my cloud DVR too. Mm-hmm. If I miss something, I can just go into my queue and watch it.
Oh, I know what my point was. Another thing that the Hulu came with and Sling started introducing it as well before we switched. They're starting to do local channels.
Okay.
So that they are aware that people do want that, and there is a demand for the local news, the local sports, and whatever. It's like that is coming around. And Sling does have a $5 sports package that adds like all the different ESPNs and the university thing and whatever. I think like the biggest thing right now is implementing stuff like NFL ticket, and MLB has some kind of pass,
MLB TV
I think, as well. But like those are separate services that you can get separately. And we're in the age of smart TVs. Any TV is going to be a smart TV, and Roku's and Fire Sticks and Apple TVs and whatever else are so affordable.
What's keeping you from doing it, more or less?
I mean, really, you're spending between $25 and $45 for your base I'll call it cable alternative. And then you have your little $10 add-ons like Netflix and Hulu, and then everyone's going to go cancel Netflix to have Disney Plus soon.
Yes, exactly, which is going to be hardcore because Netflix is doing so much good programming right now too.
You think?
And I like Netflix programming. I don't know what it is. It feels like their production network. They have an actor stable. That's a pretty good actor stable, like Bloodlines. You ever watch Bloodlines?
Never even heard of it.
Okay, Bloodlines. I like dramas.
Okay.
And so I'm really big into, like, I guess I call it the Breaking Bad effect. So I never really got so much into life crime dramas until I watched Breaking Bad.
Okay.
And then I stumbled onto Bloodlines, which is very much, if you like Breaking Bad, you're going to love Bloodlines.
Is that the one with Jason Momoa?
No, it is a story. Oh, God. The actors I'm not too familiar with, but they're actors that Netflix likes to use. But it's a story of this family who has a hotel off the Florida Key in the Florida area. And fortunately, one of the members of the family drowned, and one of the family members was blamed for the daughter drowning. And so he became kind of an ostracized family member. Then one of the brothers became the sheriff of the town. One of the sisters became an attorney that moved to New York City. And one of the other brothers deals with kind of being more or less trying to figure out his life. He has a drinking problem. He deals with just what he's supposed to do to live up to keep in the good graces of the family. And but then the one brother that was ostracized comes back to town, and he's kind of the screw up of the family completely. And unfortunately, he gets into habits where he starts more or less drug trafficking. And this family that is more or less looked at as, like, on the surface, a major bloodline family on that Florida community, all the skeletons from the closet are coming out.
Interesting.
And then there's another one that I really like too that Jason Bateman's in called The Ozarks. And that's another kind of, you know, unexpected drama that gets how you're going to get your way out of it type of thing, where he is an accountant. Jason Bateman plays an accountant that the company that he works for more or less is doing the books for a Mexican drug cartel. And the Mexican drug cartel catches on that some of the money was misappropriated and challenges the accounting firm. And him and his best friend run this accounting firm. And Jason Bateman is running it all the up and up, but didn't know that his partner was laundering money that was not reported on. And so when the drug cartel guy found out that the money wasn't being laundered on, he ends up killing the his partner that owns the accounting firm with them. And then more or less, Jason Bateman talks like, I had no idea what was going on and so on and so forth. And, you know, this is something that was being hidden from me. And so the cartel decides to keep him alive and then expects to more or less him take over the laundering of the money for the drug cartel. See,
then this is why I want to do an episode, a couple episodes for now. Maybe we'll see how it goes. And then maybe we'll make it a recurring topic is what are we watching on our streaming services right now? Because like I never even heard of this Bloodlines thing. I mean, it sounds interesting, but I
know it's just recommended because I like Breaking Bad, and
but
anything
like,
that's recommended, like okay, if I like this, I'll try it out.
And I like She-Ra, and you might not expect that. I mean, you might think it's a show for young girls or something, but like it's a well written story. And like I'm really glad that you liked it too. But I want to talk about that. And there's so many things on between Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, and we're going to get Disney Plus soon, and then NBC's doing its own thing, and there's the DC universe online or whatever that DC thing is called, but nobody cares anymore. Like it's hard to keep track of.
There's too much stuff out there.
What to watch. So when we call the episode Netflix and Chill, and we just talk about the streaming services, the shows we like to watch, and our favorite snacks.
Nice. Yes.
Speaking of snacks, we're going to continue our recurring. We'll call it a snack segment, I guess. So today I had. Oh, you hear my stomach growling? That was.
Dude,
I'm already thinking about it.
It's like, did you bring that up again? It's like, dude, more.
So for those of you who know or like Ben & Jerry's has an ice cream flavor called Half Baked. I think it's one of their more popular ones. Definitely one of my favorite flavors of the Half Baked ice cream. For those of you who are not familiar with it, Half Baked is half chocolate, half vanilla, and there's bits of cookie dough and bits of brownie. And what a great combination of ice cream. Yeah, and I love it. And I literally, no kidding, one day I was eating it and I was like, man, I wish there was more cookie dough and brownies in this. And I kid you not, Ben & Jerry's now sells little sacks of snack size cookie dough. So in the frozen section, right next to the Ben & Jerry's, there's a bag of cookie dough, and it is life-changing. And right before we started recording this, I had Ken try one.
Yes, as epic as ever. I mean, I think the only reason why they do this separately is because FDA won't allow them to put more cookie dough inside of the ice cream for caloric reasons or carbohydrate reasons.
But here's a sack of it.
Yeah, it's like, here's 120% of the carbs you need for the day. Right? So if you want to combine them together.
But Ken,
it was epic. It was awesome. I said, too, like that you always want more cookie dough pieces in your cookie dough ice cream.
I almost don't even need the ice cream now because I just want to eat the cookie dough.
Yes. And I said, too, even like when you're kids, when you're baking cookies, it's like, I hate that whole thing of your parents telling you, like, no, don't eat cookie dough unless it's cooked. And you used to love eating little chunks of cookie dough when you're a kid.
What? And I still did it. I still did it in my adulthood.
Yes, you had to sneak it.
And you're not supposed to because of the raw egg, I guess, that's in cookie dough. But that's
so tasty.
That's what makes this snackable, is like they don't have the things like the raw eggs. Which whatever. I mean, like, I'm going to eat it. I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm going to eat it, whatever.
So tasty. Oh, my gosh.
And it seems to have started the trend because now I just saw the other day that I think it's Nestle is putting out a tub of eatable cookie dough now.
Oh, are you serious? Yeah. Don't tell me that, dude. Oh, my gosh. That's my favorite type of things, too, is like that cookie dough. Like, I try to eat it, a little bit of it before it sits out for a little bit of time, going, it's refrigerated. I'm going to have some of this.
Yes.
And it's so freaking like, oh, my gosh, dude. That is... Sometimes cookie dough tastes better than cookies itself. When it's cooked.
Cookie dough is better than cookies.
Yes.
Hands down. And I love it when you have a cookie and it's almost like a little raw in the middle.
Yes.
Especially when it's freshly baked.
Yeah, dude, I love warm baked, freshly out of the oven cookies.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like my wife unfortunately likes them to like harden up a little bit.
Really?
I'm kind of going, no, dude, you need this gooey, soft. You can scoop it out, makes a mess, almost like pudding. You put on your tray, put some ice cream over it, and just make perfect ice cream sandwiches.
Now, don't get me wrong. Hard cookies or whatever you want to call them have a time and a place, but like I need milk with them.
Yes.
Or it's not happening.
You soften them up somehow.
Yes. Lots of milk.
Yes. Yeah, I said too. I'm totally soft baked cookie. Also too. It's like same thing too. It's like I'm a big fan of brownies.
Brownies are my favorite dessert.
Anything that you can put with the brownie, whether salted caramel, ice cream, butter pecan ice cream, scoop on a brownie, put some caramel sauce on it, and you got like the perfect dessert.
Generally, I like a brownie on its own. It's very fudgy, but I definitely like a brownie sundae with some ice cream on top of it. That's really good too. I never had Dairy Queen Blizzards until I was...
With brownie bites in it.
How old am I? I haven't had a Dairy Queen Blizzard until I was about 28.
Wow. Yes.
That was my first time having... Because, growing up, I always heard Dairy Queen sucked. And then, in high school... I had a burger from Dairy Queen and it sucked.
Yes. Well, Dairy Queen's not known for the burgers.
Well, okay, that's what everyone told me. I was like, Blade, what did you have from Dairy Queen that sucked? I'm like, the burger. I'm like, we're supposed to get ice cream.
Exactly, dude.
So I had a Blizzard. It was some kind of chocolate Blizzard with bits of chocolate brownie and just chocolate on chocolate. So that's what I got. Yes. And it was awesome. And I'm gonna go get a Blizzard probably after this. But yes, your Blizzards they're good.
They're paradise.
That's a guilty pleasure for sure. But yeah, guys, if you do not know about that Ben & Jerry's edible cookie dough, they have it right next to the Ben & Jerry's ice cream. I found it at Nightcap at Target. They also have a version with peanut butter. I didn't try that. I love peanut butter, but that just sounded kind of weird to me. But that exists, and that's going to change your life. And if that makes you fatter, I'm sorry. I've recently gained 30 pounds myself. So
let's do it here.
that's probably
it's the cookie dough.
Probably, and all the cookies and ice cream I've been eating lately. So we'll see what other snacks food reviews we bring you in the future, but that's about all the time we have for today. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and making us a part of your weekly routines.
Yeah, it's like we love having you guys take the time out of your day to just hear fun stuff we like to talk about, and what do you guys want to hear us talk about? Give us some feedback. Love to hear different things that are not only fun for me and Blade to talk about, but what do you guys want to hear?
Absolutely.
I think that would be great to have more interaction with the fans listening and getting the 2 cents in and put in a couple of things that you guys have viewpoints on, and love to talk about that with you guys.
Absolutely. Shoot us a message on social media. Tell Ken when you see him. Tell me when you see me. Leave us comments on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah, come into Drawn to Comics.
There, come into Drawn to Comics. Tell anybody, and they'll get it to Ken.
Yes.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you for listening.